All right, welcome to another episode of Project M. I'm Tanner Guzzi here with my co-host Brandon King.
Hey guys.
And before we jump into today's topic, which is going to be a fun one related to tracking and progress and all this other stuff, let's do a challenge check-in because it has been a week since we went and did our air marshal test. And so, what have you been doing?
Has it been a week?
It's been a week.
No
It'll be a week
way.
tomorrow. No. It's been like 5 days.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
I've done a little bit.
Okay.
I haven't done the full conceal, but things have been a little crazy. Not an excuse. But I've done just a little bit, from ready, up, pull the trigger,
doing some dry fire stuff.
Find it on the wall. I haven't timed it yet.
Right.
But yeah, I've just done a couple minutes of.
Yes. Okay. Same thing for me. Where
Sorry,
I'm still
audio
trying to figure out. Yes, he's pointing the gun, his imaginary fake. Basically, same thing for me.
Yeah.
Where, I've been trying to find an app so that I can actually measure my shot time, and apparently, I guess all the gun guys are Android users because all the good ones are there and not on iPhone, which doesn't surprise me that much.
Also unusual though,
right? Yeah.
How does that feel?
Yeah. But I've been, basically been doing the same thing. I have been actually playing around with a little bit of dropping magazines, reloading, and that kind of stuff. And I'm excited to see how this one is going to go. So this will be fun. Okay, so that's it for that. If you guys want to see us as we're making progress on that, you can go check us out on Instagram, which is @EnterProjectM. But as far as today's episode, once again, I kind of love that this is the way things go, is that you just bring up the topics because you've just got so many good ideas. Speaking of tracking and seeing improvements, tell us what you want to talk about today.
Yeah, I want to talk about tracking your stuff.
Okay.
I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant here.
Do it. Rant away.
So, I don't know if you'd say personal finance is a hobby of mine, but it's something I think about.
You care about it.
I care about it. I read books. And just in general, talking to guys, talking to people I work with, family, whatever, I often hear people say things like, I can't afford to go to that concert with you. I can't, talking about savings, I don't contribute to my 401k. I don't have any money to set aside for retirement. I can't afford it. Things are tight right now. I can't, whatever it is. I can't buy that. I can't. Right. A lot of times it's doing things
well, what's interesting is Brandon, the kind of people that you work with, it's not some entry level type of job. The guys make good money.
Yeah, decent money.
Yeah,
decent. Yeah, exactly. But what blows me away is I've started thinking about this. These aren't big expenses. These are things I think everybody should contribute to retirement. Everyone should be saving money, in my opinion, to some extent. So I've started kind of thinking, how does that work? Because in some these guys they're not in poverty. They're doing all right to the point where I don't know how much money they make, but I can gather.
Right.
So how can you not be saving any money? How can you be spending every penny that you get every month, and things are that tight? And so I've started kind of, probing a little bit. Mm-hmm. So how much do you spend on groceries a month? And the amount of people that cannot tell me, even ballpark, even any idea how much they spend on groceries a month for their family, blows me away. Just astounding to me. And so, I just want to talk about how anything that you care about, which finance is easy because everyone has to make money,
and it's monetary, or it's digital. There's numbers.
There's numbers.
Numeric. Thank you.
Yeah, it's very quantitative, right? To some extent, you should be able to tell me some metric. I mean, maybe it's not your groceries. Maybe you make $30 million a year, and you have someone buy your groceries and a chef, right? You don't need to worry about what your budget is, but you should probably be able to tell me some number about your burn rate.
You should know what your nut is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what your nut.
How much you have to make each month in order to be able to just make your payments that month.
Right, yeah. What's break even for you?
Because I don't know, and a lot of it is, because I'm bad with numbers. And maybe this is a limiting belief on my part, but I just don't, I hated it. I hated math. I was able to I took AP Calculus, and I was able to basically memorize and regurgitate my way through that, and I haven't thought about any of it since. And so my wife is the one who actually handles all of our family finances. Mm-hmm. I'm sure I've got plenty of guys right now who are just
oh man, that was big of you to admit that on the internet.
No, but I delegated it to her.
Oh boy.
Now I'm going to piss off the other half.
Oh boy. Okay.
So now that everybody's pissed off, but really she's better at it than I am, and I still handle it from the business perspective as far as what all those numbers are. But I know what our nut is.
Yeah.
I know how much I have to earn each month in order for us to be able to make it through each month. Yeah.
Yeah. So I could tell you right now, I could pull up my phone. I know what the number is, just because I know.
Yes.
But if you ask me right now, because I care about this, I'm not at the point where I can blow off any of those things.
Right.
I don't make that much money.
Right.
So I can tell you how much we spend on average on gas this month. I could tell you how much we spent last month on gas. I could tell you the average and how much we spent on groceries, how much we spent on clothes. I could tell you how much I blew, how much I blew, like how much was fund money for me, how much my wife blew on fund money for her.
Right.
And yeah, it's just part of, it's something we care about. And so if you want to see improvement in any, because we want to improve in that.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
And so, yeah, if you don't care about, like, if it would be one thing if these guys said, I'm fine with money, I'm happy with where I'm at. And then they said,
right.
And I don't know how much I spent on groceries. That's one thing.
Well,
but if you care about something, you better be able to tell me some metrics.
Okay, because that brings up another point for me, because I wouldn't be able to do any of that as far as how much we spent. But I would be able to tell you how much money I earned.
Okay.
Because for me, I don't have a set salary that comes in every month. And so if we want to be able to cover Christmas presents and get 6 months worth of living expenses and savings and do all these other kind of responsible things, I need to earn more money in order to be able to have excess compared to what our nut is. And then we can look at percentages and stuff like that. And so I can absolutely tell you how much I earned this month versus the previous month, or what I've done this year versus previous years, or that kind of stuff. But maybe for me, that's because I care more about earning more than necessarily trying to differently allocate what does already come in.
I guess I would ask then, do you have goals? Do you have financial goals? And I think you do have financial goals in terms of, but not just in terms of I want to make this much money. Do you have financial goals in terms of what your financial
This is a good question, because so much of our life, especially because there's really no better way to put it. My wife and I chose to be poor so that she could stay home with the kids.
Right.
We really did. The first 5 years of our marriage was rough. It was literally... Yeah, it was rough, and thankfully we're not in that position anymore. The last 3 years have been awesome, and now I was actually thinking about this on my run this morning, where it's okay. Once I get to the point where I've got, for me, the big goal right now is having 6 months worth of expenses in savings, especially because for me, with my income being so variable, that's a bigger deal. I feel like than somebody. If I were a month is already fine. We're already there, and then it would be like, okay, well, crap. Now what do I do? And now I'm starting to think about that, because we'll have that by the time we're through the year next year, and then it's like, okay, so do I start investing this? Do I start doing retirement stuff? Do I start doing this into other businesses that can generate? I've never been in this position before where I've got the money to be able to start doing more with it, other than can I just make my monthly payments? I
would even ask the question then, how do you know what your 6 months is if you don't know categorically what of that is essential and what isn't?
We just know what our nut is. Again, this idea of on average, and I wouldn't be able to break it down as I know this much goes to gas, this much goes to groceries, this much goes to utilities and the mortgage and all that stuff. I do know the general number, and I know that I want that times 6.
But you're probably in excess there, because you're I mean, there's probably
that would be living comfortably
at your current burn
rate,
right?
Exactly.
And maybe you don't.
And even that's for me, that's a priority, because and a lot of guys who are self-employed kind of deal with this, where their kids kind of go through the ebbs and flows of dad closed a great big sale, and so now things are good, and oh crap, dad hasn't done anything, and so we're all eating ramen for the next 3 months, and I would like to protect them from that as much as I can.
Okay. Yeah. But I also don't hear you saying like complaining about your finances.
No.
So I don't know that you necessarily fall into this description.
Right.
Because it's the same thing, right? Like we just recently talked about did I count my calories while I was
as we were doing the Bod Pod challenge.
Doing the Bod Pod challenge. And I cared about losing weight. Did I count calories? No, absolutely not.
Right.
But that's because I was happy with what the scale was doing. If I would have gone a week into that challenge and the scale hadn't changed at all, you better believe
calibrated.
You better believe I would have been putting every single thing that went into my mouth into my Fitness Pal and trying to figure that out.
Right. Okay. So then it's not only does it care, do you care, but also are you not seeing the progress that you would like to, and then that's where that changes.
Exactly, and that's probably a better distinction, right? Because if you're happy with where your finances are, like whatever, like no reason to add any more pain into it that you.
Well, and even to take it as something like for me, it's weightlifting. How do you not? It still blows my mind that there are people who will go in and will lift weights and they won't keep track of what's on the bar, how many sets, how many reps, all this other stuff that they've done before. Like that's the whole reason you go in. You have to do the progressive overload, and that's how you make any progress. Because if I'm putting on 155 one week and 280 the next week, and how do you actually make any progress there?
If it is your reason, because
that's true.
that hasn't always been my reason for going to the gym. I don't know that it's my reason for going to the gym now.
But don't you want to see that progress so that you know if you're making progress?
And I do know a little bit.
Okay.
Like I know max. I keep track of maxes, and every once in a while I'll test against that and see what my max is. But I'm not.
But when you go in every morning, you don't compare the weight that you're putting on that day compared to what you did doing that same movement the last time?
I kind of know, but not necessarily.
Oh, that blows my mind.
Yeah, but I don't go to the gym to max out whatever, right?
No, but it's not even one rep max, because you're right. You do that every day and you're screwed.
I mean, I know. I don't start from the bottom every day. Like I don't start at like just the bar and be like, okay, let's see how heavy I can get. Like I know, and I have numbers for where I'm at.
Right.
But I don't track every single rep, and here's what I lifted this rep versus that rep.
That's what I do. So I love that there's differences here.
But again,
you don't care that much.
I don't care.
Right. And
I'm also not going to complain to you that my bicep curl hasn't gone up. I'm not seeing
more progress in there. Right. Okay. And that's very interesting, because as you were first bringing up this topic, because I don't like numbers. In fact, one of the things for me, going back to this idea of calories,
numbers, though.
I know. But the problem is it does involve numbers.
If counting is numbers,
I
but
know.
it's not.
I
math.
know.
Like we're not asking you to solve.
Be kind to me.
So,
I know this is not complicated math, but for some reason I just hate even the effort of it. I hate putting my calories into MyFitnessPal.
Sure.
I hate it. I would rather, and I do this, I would rather eat the same thing every day. I will put in I will eat the same lunch, and protein shake is the same way, the same snack, and then I've got like 5 or 6 different variations on dinner, and I will know what that is. And I haven't put anything in MyFitnessPal for a long time because I hate it, and I did it meticulously for years. And maybe one of the reasons I hate it is because I got so frustrated with the lack of progress that I was making. And maybe if I were making great progress with it, then it would be like, sweet, let's fine tune this and dial it in even further. Yeah. But I'm more than happy to do it when it comes to how much weight I'm moving when I'm underneath the bar.
Yeah, and I think it does. I mean, certainly, like I geek out about my finances, and you geek out about your weightlifting. Like there is a propensity to do this, but at some point, you're going to want progress in something that you don't geek out about.
Yes,
and whatever it is, right?
And you need to just be able to do it.
If you're not,
or hire somebody to do it for you.
Whatever, right? Like you've got to be able to track it. There's the quote. I just looked it up. It's what gets. I forgot it. What gets measured gets improved.
Right.
If you can measure it, you can improve it.
Yep.
Right. Which I think and that's my rant. Is it just like that's so simple?
Yes.
How would you even know if it's improving if you haven't measured?
Right, and it's funny because I feel that same way as you're talking about your weightlifting, where it's like, how do you know if you're getting better? And it's the same thing that you feel that same rant where it's people that way with their money or their anything else. And so, obviously, there's not this idea of, because you could just kind of organically, well, I'm bigger, I'm stronger, I'm leaner, but you don't have the quantification of it. You can do the same thing with money, where there's money in the account when I go to spend it.
Right.
So there are ways to do it without that. But if you want to be efficient with it, and especially I would imagine if you're hitting a plateau on it and you want to be able to break through that, you've got to be able to track this stuff.
I guess I should say, now that I think about it, because I do outsource a lot of it. My trainer does help me know what to do. But I mean, if I know my maxes, like if I know how much I can snatch and how much I can clean and jerk, and I know what that top number is, and I keep a record of that. And then I go through my training, and every 2 weeks, I test for that max.
Right.
I'm tracking it.
You're tracking it.
I'm not saying...
Well, and the idea of your trainer doing it, too, is even interesting because he's still there and counting. So he basically would just, put the weight on and say,
no, he doesn't
reps.
He doesn't put it on. I mean, it's day by... But he's there. I talk to him.
Because I would love that.
Yeah.
Where I didn't even have to think about how much weight was on it. Because I think that's the other problem why I struggle with this tracking aspect of it, is you get so emotionally attached to the outcomes.
Right.
And so if I had a trainer who basically I would go, pick up the bar for a deadlift, and he would say, do it 5 times, and I have no idea what numbers
the weight
on there.
What even is on the bar.
Right. For me, that would be a lot. Yeah, it would be very interesting to experiment with that and see if I would make more progress more quickly because I wouldn't be psyching myself out, or if it would be the opposite where I would. That's a fun question.
I guess I do still stand by where I was at then.
Absolutely.
I care about it enough to I measure it to the degree that I care about seeing improvement.
Yes.
And I do care about seeing improvement, so I measure to that degree.
Right. Well, and I think, okay, and the idea of even being able to outsource it, because you can't say that a CEO doesn't care about the growth of his business because he can't tell you what the KPIs for some department 15 rungs down the ladder are.
No, but that CEO knows what his top line revenue is and his bottom line burn.
Exactly. So he can outsource the tracking of, or delegate the tracking of some things.
Sure.
But he still needs to be keeping track of the bigger picture things or the things that fall within his delegation.
That doesn't excuse you from not knowing, from being ignorant.
Absolutely.
Ignorance is, outsourcing is not an excuse for ignorance.
Right.
If it's something you're personally trying to work at.
Right.
Which you should be working on a lot of things, I would argue.
Yes.
And there's other things here, right? Like I can think of I don't know, like race cars, right? Obviously they're going to track their times and what they tweaked, like what they're, I don't know race cars.
How do you even compete without knowing what numbers are and how to compare them against each other, and whether it's time or points or anything else like that?
Yeah, so I don't know, but everyday things that guys should be doing this with, like I can think fitness is easy, finances is easy.
Well, and think about how many of these guys would be able to tell you all the stats on their fantasy football league, and they keep track of those numbers, but they wouldn't be able to tell you what their
because they care about it, right?
Is. Yeah, exactly. Oh man. Okay. So would you say then that there is kind of a natural, for most men, would you say that there's just kind of a natural tendency to, I keep track of this stuff, provided that I actually care about it?
No, I don't think so, because I think there's that dissonance, which we all have to some degree, between what you say you care about and what your actions
because there's no emotional rewards for caring about your finances when it just sucks to look at it all the time.
Yeah.
But there are emotional rewards for caring about the stats on your fantasy football league when you get good results from something like that. So I wonder how much of it is just that, yes, I care about it in general, but when the numbers are introduced, it sucks and I hate it.
Yeah.
And so I'm not going to track that because it's easier to just kind of like sweep it under the rug.
Yeah, to that I was just say, this can be man up.
Like,
take care of your stuff. Like you got to take care of your man stuff.
So have you always been that way about finances, or was there something that made it more enjoyable for you to actually start keeping track of it?
No, I haven't always been this way. The first time I tried to budget, like in my adult life, like getting a budget, like staring my expenses in the face was painful.
Gotcha.
So painful.
Gotcha.
I hated it.
So what changed?
I think I realized that like the discipline is freedom thing.
Gotcha.
And I realized that if I start paying attention and you see improvement, same way that a lot of people geek out about their fitness, right? Like when they start paying attention to their macros to that level, which to me is just like,
it just sounds like hell to you.
The same amount of painful you just described with finances, right? Like the same amount, like keeping track of macros and rep for rep and all that, like
hard pass.
Yeah, no thanks.
Yeah.
But yeah, I started seeing improvement. Yeah, and it led to having more money, and it led to feeling more in control of what was going on.
And so it wasn't just tracking it and then not seeing the improvement.
No, yeah.
I think that's a key distinction, is you got to be willing to put in the slog when you're not making the progress, and then it can be really addictive when you start to, because my wife and I are even doing that now, where we, both within the personal account and the business account, we're actually we pay a lot more attention now because we're trying to get our zero up higher.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, it's really rewarding to be able to open up your phone and look in the account and see a certain amount of money in there.
Yeah.
And so it does, from a reward perspective, as opposed to just avoiding, because there were times when it's just like, I don't even want to look. I'm just going to hope that the card runs. Please let it run.
But that's the equivalent of, I don't want to step on the scale because I don't want the number.
Absolutely. I'm not saying that's a good thing, because it's not. No, especially what you were saying as far as that's our responsibility and we need to own that. I am saying that it's easier to do and to enjoy geeking out about and to really get into it when you're doing it because you're actually seeing rewards and you're seeing benefits, as opposed to just like,
100%. 100%.
Awesome. Okay, so I want to hear from you guys. We want to hear from you guys.
I want to hear from you guys.
Yeah, especially because this is something.
Go ahead. I want to hear what people track.
Yes, exactly. That's what I was just going to ask. What are the things you track? What are the things that you hate tracking?
Yeah.
And what are the distinctions between those two for you?
Yeah.
So definitely let us know that. Very curious to hear how that is, and we'll talk to you guys on the next episode.
See you guys.